This past year for Call of Duty was different in a lot of ways. Sure, there were some good strides forward like cross-play, cross-progression, as well as free DLC to kind of catch up with some of the corners of the gaming industry once again, but there were also multiple things within Modern Warfare that longtime players and hardcore fans would rightfully deem as bad, or at the very least, things that missed the mark. After a year of adjustments in play, Treyarch has the opportunity to set the record straight in many ways, some of which are already in motion. Today we're going to be talking about how Treyarch may be returning Call of Duty to that sense of normalcy, or at least bringing it back down to some fundamental changes that we're used to with Black Ops Cold War. While we discuss, let me know your thoughts down below. Are you looking forward to anything in particular as a sort of revert to some of these fundamental systems? Are you hoping to see anything adjusted or amended that you perhaps enjoyed this past year from Modern Warfare? Whatever it is, let me know your thoughts down below. As well, if you are new to the channel, do be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with all things Black Ops Cold War, Warzone, and Modern Warfare as we round into an exciting upcoming 3 weeks here between each of these projects. But that said, let's jump into it. Let's start with some fundamental mechanics here with this. Modern Warfare offered a bunch of new gameplay mechanics that, in the sense of realism, made some sense that progressed the viewpoint of the modern era, the sort of milsim aspect in some regards, but in some cases, sure, they allowed for perhaps some interesting gameplay scenarios and engagements, but I think we can agree that most of these now are pretty good to see them being removed. Firstly, let's talk about doors, mounting, and leaning being removed. These three were big issues for plenty of players and for a number of reasons. Off the top of my head, I'm sure I could likely give you a few answers as to why, such as doors presenting tons of engagements where you cannot quite see a player because of the peeking feature, but they see you, making that already dozens of angles even more to watch. Mounting slowed the game down to a crawl in some cases, and personally, I always hated that as a player who loved to run and gun, or at my most passive points, snipe somewhat conservatively. I hated that mounting made me stay in one position while, say, going for things like camo challenges. I got to the point where I disliked it so much I refused to do any of those challenges unless shipment was around, because then I could pop into a mount real quick, go onto one of those crates as I'm rounding a bend, get that kill, unmount, and keep running. It was the only place that I really found that was able to keep me in the action where I could mount, quickly dismount, and then get right back into the play. Leaning, admittedly, I think was probably the least of these three evils, with various angles still actually exposing much of your character model, so unlike Ghost, you weren't protected as much when leading, but still an annoyance no less. Another big change is that of no tac sprint. Tac sprint's removal is something that I'm a fan of just for the sake of my controller. When I look at my thumbstick, I wonder how I haven't shaved through that connecting bridge piece by now. But tac sprint, while I think somewhat increased the pacing of the game, is a nice revert as well, because it keeps that pacing uniform in nature, and it's not something where you can get caught tac sprinting like you could in Modern Warfare. It's one thing to run and be able to move a little faster than that walk pace, but if you tac sprint, it has an entirely different sprint out time mechanic system as opposed to just regular running. Black Ops Cold War, you don't have to worry about any of that. You'll notice that you can likely get your gun up a little bit quicker as a result. You have a little bit more of a uniform pace here with this. One other big thing is the traditional minimap. This is a big one and a welcome revert if you ask me. We're bringing it back down to a sense of normalcy, even with this for the first time in a couple of years. Interestingly though, the HUD for the alpha of Black Ops Cold War also includes the compass at the top, which it has in Modern Warfare, but the best part is that it's not exactly following Modern Warfare's HUD one-to-one. The shots do not show up on that compass, but instead do show up on the minimap, a feature that has been in place for years and was changed for some design intent reasons that I don't think I'll ever understand. But even after the fights with the community over it, the dots never came to the minimap. Black Ops Cold War's minimap, though, not only reveals more of the map as opposed to Modern Warfare's minimap, but it also showcases those shots on the minimap if the opposing player is using an unsuppressed weapon. It showcases also those verticality arrows denoting if a player is above or below you in elevation, and also as well showcases gunfire even out of that directly viewable minimap, in which the shots will show up on the outer ring if the player is, again, using that unsuppressed weapon out of the immediate field of view. Now this is great because this is the first minimap that we've had in a while since Call of Duty World War II that has been that sort of normal minimap. We've had weird variations as of recent years, with Black Ops 4 having that fog of war mechanic where it didn't light up the full minimap, and Modern Warfare went from not even having a minimap at the very beginning to just being able to have the minimap see your teammates but still not see gunshot icons outside of the ground war modes. To me, this is a huge win in my mind for the public community, especially for those that love to chase the action down. You can now do so, but one thing you do have to be conscious of is another adjustment in Black Ops Cold War, that being the revert to the Ghost perk. Now Ghost, finally this revert is something that brings it back to, again, something pre-Modern Warfare. I don't really know why it was ever changed, just like the minimap to me, if it's not broken, don't fix it. The systems in place worked, so I don't know why we tried to reinvent the wheel here, but in Modern Warfare, the perk Ghost hid you from enemy radar all of the time. And I'm sure that you've encountered it in MP or in Warzone, where you found some player literally camping in a dark corner, especially given how many dark corners there are in that game. They were hidden when there was no reason to really be rewarded, yet that was the situation. But in Black Ops Cold War, Ghost only protects the player when they're in active motion, meaning you have to be either walking or sprinting to be protected by Ghost and to stay off that radar. This incentivizes movement and will allow for 1, either a more active player base, or 2, less protection overall for those that may use it, and either one I'm totally cool with. What's also interesting is the placement of such a perk mixed in with the tier 3 category with Cold-Blooded and Ninja in the alpha build of the game, making that tier 3 actually a pretty important tier in your perk slots. Now, sure, you can still of course use wildcards to get all 3 tier 3 perks, or at least 2 of them with other perks as well. That's another topic of discussion. Now, Ninja bringing this back to a sort of sense of normalcy is a step in the right direction, though it kind of bridges the gap here between things that are 100% going back to normal, if you want to call it that, and things that may or may not be there. Ninja, again, is that step in the right direction, but it's not quite Dead Silence. Dead Silence made a big uproar this year because, of course, it was a field upgrade and not a perk. But with Ninja and Black Ops Cold War, that's a perk, but it doesn't quite entirely deaden the audio of your footsteps. It only decreases that footstep audio while sprinting. So while you're walking around, still 100% normal. While you're sprinting, it's quieter, but it's not necessarily dead silent. And that's something that I'm not entirely sure where I stand on this, and I'm sure other people will come to think that they don't know where they stand on this just yet. Maybe they like it, maybe they don't like it. Audio, for the most part, overall, isn't half bad. You can hear footsteps with relative ease, so it's not like something where in Modern Warfare, the audio occlusion doesn't quite work out entirely where you can pinpoint where people are coming from because of the footstep audio. Black Ops Cold War, from the alpha, it seemed to be something you could pick up on relatively easily. So not having as much hands-on time just yet to know if Ninja is the accurate counter to that, or if it's something that it plays nicely as it does, I just couldn't tell you right now based off of limited time playing the game. But that's something that is, again, step in the right direction, but isn't quite necessarily normal once again. Now, here's some stuff that we want to talk about that may be there, but right now we're just not sure. First and foremost, that being the ranking system. I've talked about it here on the channel, where the ranking system seasonally was good in theory, in a capacity. I don't think that I necessarily liked from the beginning 155 resetting every single season. What I did like, though, admittedly, was not having to re-unlock all of my stuff, but once you reached a certain point, it's almost like, okay, why am I playing? And before Warzone came out, even into Season 1, Season 2, I had reached 155, and I'm like, I don't really care to play all that much. And that was still early on in the lifespan of the year. That was January, February. So with nothing really to grind for at that point, I think we can all really say that it was maybe cool in theory, but kind of was failed in execution. I think if you were to have, say, the standard prestige system, plus maybe those challenges in the weekly capacity every single season where you completed 6 or 7 of those 8 or 9 weeks of challenges, you maybe got an exclusive skin or something like that for completing it, like you would with reaching 155, that'd be kind of cool in its own way, but it would allow players to continue grinding towards something even after they reach that max of the season. Now, right now, as it stands, the ranking system has been commented on, but in, again, a very PR and ambiguous way. They ended up stating that at launch, Black Ops Cold War is set to include a brand new leveling journey that will later connect Warzone, allowing players to unlock new functional content to be used in both titles, talking about Warzone and Black Ops Cold War. But that makes it seem like it's something brand new, maybe a hybrid system. Maybe it is something like Prestige is coming back here, but with, again, some sort of seasonal element. Right now, we don't have enough information, but it looks like we're going to be getting away from that seasonal only rank where it's 155, reset, 155, reset, and so on and so forth. So in that sense, again, kind of a step in the right direction, hopefully, but we just don't really have enough information to really know for sure. Next, there might be actually something of a standard challenge system again. My friend Ryan, or Prestigious Key, ended up pointing out in a video a couple of days ago that he actually completed a challenge during our short playthrough of the alpha of Black Ops Cold War's multiplayer. Now, this challenge seemingly was a placeholder because it shared the same icon as Black Ops 4's challenge system, but it is something that the challenges were there embedded in the code. So unless legacy code that somehow was bugged and brought up, it seems like we might just have regular challenges as opposed to simply the officer challenges. And with there being barracks challenges, I think that offers a lot more in the way of calling cards you can end up getting, emblems, customization items like that on the smaller scale you could end up getting, and at any point, not just limited to, again, seasonal times. That's something that I'm hopeful returns, but again, we're still kind of iffy with. The final thing in relation to that could be coming, but we're not entirely sure, is that of map voting. Now, we talked a little bit about this in yesterday's video, so I don't want to go too far into detail with this here, but map voting was taken out for whatever reason. Again, as many pointed out in the video yesterday, yes, it is because of the quick play selection where you can have multiple different game modes in one sort of playlist, but you also got to bear in mind that happens when you have one singular playlist selected. That happens when you only play a featured game mode. It happens every single match, and a large possibility behind that is due to the skill-based matchmaking, a sort of matchmaking elo rank that isn't public to you because you're not in a ranked mode, but is reevaluated after every single game. There's no denying skill-based matchmaking is in the game, and if you want to argue if that is the reason as to why lobbies break up or they don't, that's entirely your prerogative, and I'm just putting my thoughts out there on it. Map voting was spotted within the alpha of Black Ops Cold War, but it could be something that is legacy code, but it also does have that possibility of being a returning feature. And with so many people seemingly interested in it around the community, it would be nice to see. The final thing that I do want to talk about is what still needs to be done, and there is no confirmation here on it. It is rumored that it's going to be the exact same system, so hopefully it's not, but something with skill-based matchmaking. Whether or not you introduce a dedicated ranked playlist and only keep skill-based matchmaking in there, you tone down the elo system and what happens here with skill-based matchmaking so it's not as strict. Whatever it is, I think we can all agree that hopefully that gets tuned at least, if not taken out. And that to me would be an ultimate return to normalcy for Call of Duty with Black Ops Cold War. But anyways, that's where we're gonna wrap it up. Wanted to talk about some stuff that was being made in terms of the adjustments for the game going forward, and also some stuff that, again, brings Call of Duty maybe back to Call of Duty in your mind. Love to hear your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below, though. What do you think here of this? Is there anything you want to see with Black Ops Cold War? Anything you're really liking that was a revert? Anything you want to see coming from Modern Warfare stay? Whatever it is, let me know. But hopefully enjoy the video. If you did, make sure you drop a like down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Black Ops Cold War, multiplayer, Warzone as we get more information about that, and Warzone in general, and all things Call of Duty. Stick it right here if you don't want to miss anything. If you also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, there's the best places to get connected outside of YouTube. Practically live on both those. So if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. That said, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.